Dude,
Going. Oh,
it's good to, it's been a minute since I've seen you.
I know, man. It's been
Yeah.
quite a minute.
Yeah, glad to have you on here. So, for everybody on the call and who's going to be watching this later, basically how I know Patrick is we met what was in like 2022 at that Ryan Pineda
Yep,
real
World
estate
Comp.
conference.
Yep.
Yup, and it's
We
pretty dope.
snuck
Now we
snuck
still
into
connect.
VIP. Snuck into
Yup, yeah,
VIP.
second to
That was
VIP.
fun.
Partied our butts off that last night, so
Yep.
it's good to still connect and see you crushing out here. Like literally from that, like just seeing your whole growth with real estate and the whole Airbnb game. So hell yeah,
Same
man.
same goes to you, man. You've been
Yeah,
crushing it. You've been doing the thing. I remember when we joined content creator together and you weren't sure about which direction to go. And you were telling me about what you were doing with, the credit card, like debt, getting debt, like short-term debt and that kind of stuff. And I was like, dude, this is it. And you had
yeah,
all these like passions. You're like, but I also do Airbnb and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know, man. You seem like you know what you're doing in this debt aspect of the world, credit cards, hacking
yeah,
and all that.
dude. I mean,
Like
yeah,
real estate.
the whole reason why I met you, like the only reason why I got into real estate was because I didn't have money, but I had the debt to get into Airbnb. So
Yep.
now it's cool to have that take me so far, and now everybody here on this call and the people who couldn't join, like now I'm helping them out with it too. So
Mhm.
definitely a passion, but. Yeah, man. I figured let's just get into it, dude. I don't want to speak too much because I feel like I'm just gonna start speaking for you. But why don't you kind of introduce yourself and just tell everybody, how where you kind of came from and where your focus is now.
Yeah. Before I do that, I just want to get like maybe some feedback in the chat. Kind of maybe like a name, your name, and just like what are you looking to do, or like what are your aspirations? Like what are your goals in the next year or so? I kind of want to get an idea of the audience, so I can speak better to you guys. Yeah. If you guys don't want to do that, no worries. But I just wanted to get an idea here from everyone that's here. Like, we got Danielle, we got uh Bray. Am I saying it wrong? Oh God,
Bree, yeah.
Bray. We got Teresa,
And then Teresa's
H,
she's actually actively doing
Audrey.
Airbnb as well right now. So
Sweet,
yeah.
sweet, sweet. Cool. While that's going, I'll kind of introduce myself. But my name is Patrick. I'm a short-term rental educator, investor, developer, rehabber. I do it all. Anything with short-term rentals. Primarily, I own a management company. I manage. I have over 100 signed Airbnb agreements under management. And comes and goes. So a little bit background and story on me and who I am. I came from a background of growing up middle class. The first day that I was an entrepreneur at heart, when kids saw that snow was coming down and people were like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to build a snowman." And I was thinking, "Dang, how many driveways can I plow to like make some money?" Right? That's what I was thinking. So I was always an opportunist. I always saw the opportunities that came about. I carried that same thing into starting my first company, my official company at 14. I created a server space for people worldwide for gaming, and that scaled. And I built a team. And by 18, I sold the business. I made $40,000 a year. So that was my first
Damn.
like venture. And then from there, I thought entrepreneurship was easy. I did a bunch of different things. Isn't as easy as the first time around. And eventually ended up going down the corporate path. Figured out it's not for me. Lost 3 jobs in 1 year. I was a shit employee and still am a shit employee, and I'll wear that proudly on my chest. And sometimes people you just figure out, it took me a break. I broke down and cried because I was like, dude, what am I doing with my life? I have no purpose. That was in 2020, 2021. So,
Damn,
I
so
think
nearly 3 years,
for
and that's
2020,
like a short time. Yeah, three, two,
2020.
4 years. Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy.
Yep. And so I worked for Airbnb company for 6 months as a product manager. But they laid me off due to COVID. And then I also worked some other jobs that worked out for me. But my first real estate investment happened in end of 2021. I said enough is enough. I'm gonna do real estate. Every dollar that I had and saved up, I put into this investment. And from there, it was a success. It did really well. Um, and then I decided to start building my portfolio, but I had no money. So how do I build a portfolio with no money? And so that's when you start, this is where Miguel and I talk about is like you have to leverage other people and other people's money. And that's exactly what I did.
Hmm.
Um, Teresa. Hey, oh, Teresa respond. I'm gonna read this out loud because this is great. I'm a speech language pathologist and I have just started with Airbnb arbitrage. I like it, not so sure it's sustainable. I'm interested in diving deeper into real estate, whether it be via flip, wholesale, mobile, home park. Awesome. It's a great cash flow mechanism. And I'm going to tell you a way that you can make Airbnbs, you can do stuff with Airbnb and make it sustainable and something that you can actually take along and make it into a business. Um, but going back to my story, um, I was in a deadlock and I met this person that was a house flipper and he was a house flipper. I was an Airbnb guy. I had one Airbnb and I said, hey, why don't we partner up? I'll do all the work and you put up the money. I'll find the deal. Let's get this thing done. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And so now that was me leveraging his money, his expertise, his access to loans, by the way. He had money. He was getting money really cheap because he was a house flipper. He's flipped over 100 houses. So he was getting money at the time, it was 10% down, 90% LTV, 7% interest rate for hard money
Damn,
loans. And he was getting this for a year, bridge loans. And I was like, damn, with like, I think it was like 0.75 of a point. It
that's
was like so
crazy.
cheap. And he was just getting these loans. He's like, dude, I can crank these out. So we got 4 Airbnbs and he had the capital to even put down on these Airbnbs, 10% down. So look, I didn't have to have the loan. I didn't have to have the credibility. I could get Jack, right? For my first property that I bought, I had, not the best rates at the time, even though the rates were really low. And he was able to get access to loans that were just incredible, leveraging other people's money and leveraging other people's uh credit. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's an, I don't know, Miguel, if you talk about that, but did that. And then that was successful. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, I want to get more into cash flow. I think this cash flow thing is really nice. And I wanted to get into co-hosting. So talking about, oh, the girl, Teresa. Oh, dang. This was for
Yeah,
her.
this was for
Right.
her.
Right. This
Damn.
is right here.
Oh, there she
Oh,
is.
Teresa's back. Teresa's back. Okay. So I'm going to give you this, Teresa, exactly to you. Um, this is for you right here, Teresa. But what I did was I decided, dang, I'm going to get into managing properties for other people. And managing properties for other people, the cool thing about that is that if you grow it enough, it's a business that you can sell. And 50% of the value that you get out of owning a business is through the sale. So if you're not thinking about the sale as a business owner, you're not really thinking strategically about what I can do. There's a difference between, okay, I'm making some side money and like arbitrage is making side money. It's making cash. It's like a hustle, right? You have a hustle, you're making some money. And there's a difference between that and having a real business. Having a real business is something you can sell. So like for instance, right now, and I'll get into all that sellable stuff. But like with a business you can sell is the most important part. Now, granted, I got into wanting to get into hosting, and I said, I would have to go one by one, right? But on my lap fell this opportunity to get 15 co-hosting units all at once. And I was
Damn.
like, I get to skip all the building of the systems. I get the people right away. I get the agreements right away. I can just go in and start working on sales. And I was like, that is genius. And I didn't have the money for it. And so um, it was they were asking for 200,000. That's how kind of what we came up with. It was going to make, I paid that loan off, by the way, in 1 year. But the way we structured that deal is through seller financing. So 50% down. And then the second 50% is depending on how much of the original amount of people stay. So depending on how many stay is how much we pay the second half. So
Yeah.
as we were looking at that, it turns out we eventually paid 160,000. I paid that off in 1 year. And so, in the beginning, they were making, it's crazy. They were making 70,000 a year, or 70,000 a year without paying themselves. And we were able to make $80,000 last month.
So
So,
that,
or
that that was the property management company, right? Or was it just some guy who just like had 15 deals, or how'd that kind of come about?
Yeah, it was a management company. They had
Okay.
15. They were looking to sell because they had a new kid, they had a hotel deal that they were working on. So they were really just looking for somebody to take these contracts and run with it. And we were like, yeah, perfect. We got the 10 contracts. It was a lot of learning there was a lot of learning curve involved in that. We weren't really making much money in the beginning. We were making like, I mean, even last October, we made 8,000. And then, like I said, last month we made 80 grand, like net, like cash in our pocket, cash, like 80,000. So like crazy growth. That's a 10x growth. Um, yeah, but like in the month in this last month, we're probably going to be around 70,000. I mean, it's just a lot. We're in high season, so that's also something to keep in mind. But what this showed me is that you could buy a business and add value to it. And so I took it from something that maybe is worth 200,000 to now we could be on the way to making potentially $750,000 a year. I don't know exactly how much because things pile up all the time. But right now, like let's say that it's a $750,000 a year business. Now I can go up to people and sell that business at a 5x multiple, or a 5 or 4x multiple. Like even at 4x of 750,000, that's a $3 million valuation. So now we have a
Damn.
$3 million company. And so like we could sell that. But granted, in that year, the way that we were able to scale so fast is we bought another business with $0 down. $0 down. Well, let me go back to the first business. Sorry, I gotta close this off. So it was 50% down, right? And 50% in the back end. The 50% down, I brought a business partner to put that 100K down. So he got paid back within the first year, but he was able to get in the deal with me to be able to do it with his 100,000. Now, the second business that we bought was a failing business in the middle of this. Like it was like whatever. They were going through some stuff. They had some high interest loans. They couldn't really get through. We bought the 10 contracts that they had and we reassigned them under our own. And so that helped us scale a lot faster. And then recently, we bought a company that had 35 contracts. So that was able to like get us to that next level. And so we got to 100 signed agreements from here. So 100 signed agreements from 5 that I owned to 100 signed agreements in under 1 year, because I was able to buy companies and scale that way. Because when you buy companies, you buy the infrastructure, you buy everything. So at this point, you're just focusing on sales. So to answer your question, Teresa, like what I was saying before is you buying businesses allows you to eventually build equity and make it sustainable. It takes it from becoming a side hustle to becoming a sustainable business that makes you money, and that other people on the market are willing to pay you money to be able to buy it from you. So that is the idea that we should be thinking about, is like in the beginning, yes, always go for cash flow. Like, yeah, if I can make some quick bucks here, great. You want to create sustainable business, then you got to be able to leverage debt to make to be able to do whatever you got to do to, what's it called, to make it a actual business, right? Like hire people, build systems, focus on sales, have a good model for less churn and things like that. Like things that people are going to look at when they were looking to acquire a company. But anyways, that was kind of like the whole spiel there. In terms of like debt, I'm just going to talk a little bit about just the power of debt in this whole situation. If I were to wait and actually, I think a good way of putting this, my mentor told me this once. And this kind of falls into everybody in this group here, and this is going to be relevant. Um, people always use money as an excuse for why they're not doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens quite a lot. Um, but then I wanted to ask, you, Miguel, I'm going to ask you as a participant. If I came up to you and said I had a $30,000 Lamborghini, brand new, it's last year.
Yeah.
Let's say you don't have the 30,000. Are you going to be able to find that 30 grand?
100%. It
Would
just,
you buy
yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Would you buy it?
100%.
Why
Yeah.
would you buy it? Do you need a Lamborghini?
No, but it's a fucking deal. Like it's a
It's a
steal, dude.
deal. It's a deal,
Yeah.
right? And how much you can probably sell it over 100 grand, right? So if you
Yeah.
find that money, you can, so what you're telling me right now is not that you don't have a money issue. You really have an issue of finding the right deal or
Hmm.
finding the right opportunity.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, if you have the right opportunity, the money's going to come. There's
Hmm.
so many people that need somebody to be able to do something with the money, right? So that's why, whatever short-term financing, you could do credit cards, whatever the case may be, to get that money. Like you would find that 30 grand. You'd be like, shoot, all right, Miguel, how do I get 30 grand right now? How could I cash this out? Like you'd be willing to do whatever it takes because you
Thanks.
have
Yep.
the margins. You're like, and if people operated with that much conviction, in their day-to-day lives, if they believed in themselves, I mean, I'm not being a proponent to just going out there and getting as much bad debt as you can. But if you truly know you have a good deal and you have something, you believe in yourself and you devote time and energy to this one thing, there's no reason why you can't be successful because you believe in yourself and you're like, God damn, I'm convinced. Like that $30,000 Ferrari, you're like, well, that's a no-brainer. Who wouldn't want to buy a $30,000 Lamborghini? It's of course like it's worth 100 grand. I'm like, but aren't you worth a lot too?
Yeah.
What's your self-worth, right? Like
Yeah.
to say that like you wouldn't take a bet on yourself that way that other people would as well. Now, granted, I am not asking people to go get debt out for some dumb idea that whatever.
Yeah.
Like make sure that it's something that makes sense. But like if you got real estate investors telling you this is a great deal, you have you have this unit that the rental for that unit, and you know that you can make money on this rental as an arbitrage unit, and you're like with so much conviction, you should be able to find the financing to get it done so that you can make money. Like it's one
Yeah.
of those things.
It's something I wanted to take a couple points because I remember when after like shortly I met you, like
Yeah.
I remember seeing on your stories like this is what the average of Airbnb hosts are making and
Hmm.
stuff. But you're like, but no, fuck that. I'm not gonna base this off of average numbers. Like that's like the minimum I'll be making because like also the conviction and the belief in yourself. Like I'm trying to be fucking number one. Like whether that's 1 unit or 100 units, it's just like okay, like I'm gonna fucking pip this shit out and I'm gonna study the marketing game. Like how do I get better or more reviews? How do I provide a better customer experience? And I think obviously that probably took a while to figure out. You might have had some like bad had maybe I remember seeing you had some complaints or something like that, but also the people were kind of shitty. But like to kind of go back to your point of people just using like, oh, I don't got the money to take advantage of this opportunity. It's like all bullshit. Cause like at the end of the day, it's like you need something to put yourself in the game, and it's not going to be like a straight path, but on the way of going towards that path you're going to fuck up. You might hit some bumps in the road, but you're going to fucking learn and you're going to get really good at that skill. And then at least for me, I did Airbnb, created a profitable business, sold it, and then got into fix and flip. So it's not even necessarily like the end game. It's like really the funding. I always tell people it's literally the keys to open up the kick down the door of opportunity. You know what I mean? Like even for you, like you started off being like you actually bought a property. Now you bought a co-hosting company and you're doing like flips. So like that's freaking awesome. Before I forget, before this call, you don't need to do it right now, but I think it'd be really sick if you did like a screen share of just some of your portfolio. Cause like I'll be seeing the stuff you're posting on your Instagram story.
Yeah.
It's dude, those houses are freaking amazing. Like that's the goal right there.
Right. Yeah, I'd be happy to share that. Like I can share that with all you guys. Honestly, do I have permission to share right now?
Yeah, if you want to, go ahead.
Okay, cool. let me see if I can pull up the portfolio. Okay. So I'm gonna share my screen here, guys, just so you guys can get an understanding. Like these are all these are so I have two brands, right? Remember, I bought three companies. One I rolled into one of the brands, Stays You Like, but this is the co-host brand. This is the recent brand I bought. These are some of the houses that exist here. This house right here, this is the Hoopa house. This did over 200,000. Um, it's got a pickleball court with beautiful views. This is one like this one
Whoa,
is Mod West. This is beautiful boulders with like drive-in movie theater, like
crazy.
sauna, crazy
Quick,
property,
quick
jail
question for you.
cell.
How much does that thing run per night?
This is a two bedroom and probably do a lot more if it wasn't two bedroom. It's minimum 500. It doesn't go under 500 any day of the year, but it will shoot up into thousands on the
Do
weekends.
you guys ever use that on they got like Peer Space and stuff where it's like Airbnb but just for like events and like photo shoots and stuff like that?
Yeah, like we have some of these properties on Peer Space. We should
That's
probably do
sick.
more to be honest. But we do have a few. This is another one. It's High West. This one's next door to the other one I showed you, like big boulders. Just the listings are created, with such intention too. Um, yeah, like cabin vibes, like really
That's
cool
sick.
homes.
What one
Oh,
thing I wanted to ask too, because obviously with Airbnb, it's a very like visual appeal, so you have to have that like eye for design, like because that's what's gonna sell people. It's not like
yeah,
the description or the name. It's just like the first picture they're gonna see,
yeah,
they're like, holy shit, right? So like.
right.
And like I guess this could even apply for fix and flippers when they have people like decorate the place, but like what would you say? Like, do you guys have somebody, like a professional designer, kind of like planning this all out, or do you guys already have like the vision for it?
So we do work with designers for our properties, our own properties. And the ones
Mhm.
we manage, they also work with designers a lot of times because like you should focus on the skill sets that you're really good at and then outsource anything else because that's how you build a scalable business, right? Is to find the experts to do the things that you're not the best at. And so like this, I wouldn't be able to come up with a design for something like this. I'm just not that talented. But what I'm good at is like pricing optimization. I'm good at putting a listing together. I can put a probably pretty badass listing together. And so like that, I'm just gonna play into my strengths and
Mm,
where I see best fit. So that's kind of the way I like to look at things. Yeah.
that's dope. Dude, this portfolio is sexy, dude.
Yeah. So cool homes do really well. Um, and you know what's really funny? This is AI right here.
Oh, really?
Not even
That's
an actual person, not a model. So you could do AI models, AI influencer shoots. Um,
sick.
but anyways, yeah, you get the whole idea. It's supposed to be very it's supposed to be very you get invoke an emotion when you want to sell somebody on something. So like Joshua Tree is very much like that I call the NBA of all markets because the standard is so high. So you have to be the best of the best. So those are like exceptional properties and exceptional branding and exceptional everything because you have to be that way. You have to come in here and create like invoke an emotion, invoke a feeling, and do design and do whatever it takes to like really make it stand out. And so, that's just kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I guess one question I have for you too, because I would actually want to learn
yeah,
this as I'm building up my team as well,
yeah.
is, like obviously in the beginning you're kind of doing everything because you got to learn it so you could kind of like outsource it. But like as far as kind of building that A team, like what was that process like for you?
Oh yeah, I mean in the beginning when I bought my first company, we had quite literally like 16-hour days. Clients were leaving, wanting to leave. We had to save them, we coming in and we have a felon that works for us and it's like what the heck? Like all this
Yeah.
crazy stuff. And we're doing everything on top of that.
Yeah.
So in the beginning was hectic, but once you started making enough money, VAs were a tremendous help. We started thinking about things. I started thinking about, the way I like to look at it from from like, if you're looking to outsource your business, um, the way I like to look at it is make a list. So I'd make a list of all of the things that you're doing the whole week, right? So just like, I don't know, listing optimization, 2 hours, pricing, 2 hours, dealing with owners, 10 hours, whatever, like just break it down, accounting, whatever. Now rank those things from 1 to 5 on how much you actually enjoy doing it, and then rank the thing on how much expertise it takes, or how um how important is it to the business. Now you want to find those things that are, maybe not as important to the business, or maybe take up a lot of time but are more manual tasks, or whatever the case, and just start figuring out what things you can outsource, because then you're going to start becoming more thoughtful about it. Like, I realize I spend so much time with accounting. I'm like, I'm spending all this time with accounting, and then you find an accountant, right? And so I always have like an assessment of what I'm doing every week, and I find the things I need to outsource. But there's things that I take up a lot of my time, but I don't outsource, like sales. I'm not going to outsource sales right now because,
Yeah.
first of all, I enjoy doing it tremendously, and they're like, that's where my expertise is. So, I'm cool with it. But there's certain things like working the day to day that I really don't like to do. So I hired a COO. She deals with everything on a day to day for both companies. I have a, some cleaning manager. She deals with all the cleaning managers. I have somebody that deals with all the operations. I have somebody that deals with all the clients. Like, whatever I need, I'm able to outsource. Now you can start talking about, like, people ask me, okay, I get it, it's cool, but like, what's my first hire? And I think the best first hire in any business, especially when you're starting out, an administrative assistant is going to be everything. Because in the business, there's so many things that are going on. Like, when you first start any kind of business across the board, and when you're first hustling, the really what you got to do is focus on finding somebody that can do all the different things, all the administrative stuff that don't involve the two things that you should be doing in the beginning of the business. In the beginning, one is sales. You should be doing the sales. And two, you should be doing the fulfillment in the beginning. So those are the two things you should be doing. So sales and fulfillment. And then everything else, you try to find an assistant, an administrative assistant to take care of. So in the Airbnb business, that would be, talking to guests, talking to owners, like doing stuff like that. Like, I want to still be talking to owners because that's fulfillment, right? I still want to be talking to maybe not talking to guests. Maybe that will be like, get an administrative assistant to talk to guests, which is kind of fulfillment, but I want to be focusing on sales. Like, that's where I want to be, and try to get more clients. And then eventually, I want to eventually hire out for those different aspects. But my administrative assistant's goal is to like take as much off my plate as possible so I can focus on those things. Does that make sense? Um, yeah, that's how I like to look at it. So yeah, and I think that's how you build a sustainable business, because I can hop on this call with you guys. I have my phone's ringing like crazy with like bookings and stuff, but I'm not dealing with those bookings. The bookings come in, the automated messages, the systems. I'm relying on the systems. I'm relying on my team. I'm relying on our processes and the way we do things. And so that allows me just to go to meetings and get updates. I'm going to
Mhm.
meetings. I'm like, what are the fucking metrics? How much money are we bringing in? How much money are we not bringing in? Cool. Where should we optimize stuff? Where should we strategize on going forward? That's what I want to be focusing on, is like strategy and positioning the business. And right now, what I've been taking a lot of interest on is exit. I'm thinking about exit. What do I need for exit? Like, where do I need to be to get to my 10 million? I want to get $10 million as an exit strategy. Where do I have to be per year to be able to hit that? What does that look like per month? Where are we tracking? What do the expenses look like? Why are expenses so much? Why can't we make money extra here, or make money extra here, or do whatever? That's where I'm focusing my attention. I don't want to be doing the day to day, because that's taking away from me building the business and building the partnerships that are needed to get to where we're gonna have to go. So that's kind of the whole, that's like what I do every day. And I love it. I mean, I work like dog hours, but at the same time, I love what I do, and I don't need to work dog hours because if I want my business to coast right now. I took a trip for 3 days to Maryland, and my girlfriend's used to me working all the time. And during that trip, I really didn't work much. I was enjoying time with family. I was like enjoying my life, which I'm an addict, work addict, so that was hard. But I saw the capability this last weekend of how well the business is well oiled to the point where I was able to just take a backtrack and really just not be on my phone like at all. And it was running. And so
Nice.
that's the goal. That's the goal. But it was coasting. Like we're not, we're not talking to new clients, like nobody's doing that. It's me, right? So, but I come back on Monday. All right, let's talk to new clients. Let's do this. A lot of times they don't want to talk on the weekends anyways. So it's pretty chill. Um, but that's the idea is yeah. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Does anybody have any specific questions? Like I'd be happy to answer them as well. I've flipped houses as well. I think everything you do, you should be making into a business. Flipping houses as well. The biggest expense, like what is the biggest thing that takes the most time with flipping, right? It's going to be checking on the houses and making sure that they're done correctly. And so,
Mhm.
like, can you get a project manager? Is that worth it? Can you get a VA to do that? Can you leverage outsourced labor, like a labor arbitrage? I always think about VAs and people from other countries as an arbitrage opportunity. Can I
Mhm.
pay $5 an hour for the same quality of work? Does that person need to be in person? What parts should be in person? What parts don't have to be in person? I want to ask those questions because I'm running my business so lean. Well, not so lean actually. It's probably getting more expensive, but it's running pretty lean compared to some because I analyzed business companies to buy, and I'm seeing some of these people where their payroll is like really expensive. I'm seeing their payrolls like 60% of their profits. And I'm like, damn, that's a hefty expense. You should be around like 20%.
Yeah.
So, where are you at? And so yeah, so that's kind of how I like to approach everything in life. Um I'm going a little off track, but yeah, like I think at the end of the day, you lever so it's like a machine, right? You leverage debt to 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 buy things, and then you operate those things, and then you focus on growing those things. It's like it's that's the formula.
Makes it
In
sound
simple.
so easy.
It's not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not,
No,
but
it's definitely a hustle. I was definitely taking notes on the outsourcing thing. I've never heard of that. Of just like writing everything you're doing each
Mhm.
day with the hours, the
So
priority
key.
expertise. So that's great. I'm gonna actually start putting that into practice. Um, as far as like specific questions, I think this would be really helpful for Teresa and then some of the other Airbnb people in our group when they watch this later is like you mentioned like, why is this expensive or like, how do we squeeze more cash out of this like part of the business? Like for you and your portfolio now, where are you kind of seeing like, okay, I could cut costs here? Like, what's kind of like the mentality and what are the specific things that you're finding you could cut expenses or, create more cash flow?
Yeah, I think what's more important is how can I capitalize in the market more and make more money?
Hmm.
I love keeping things lean, but also I enjoy maximizing my revenue. I think
Hmm.
the biggest single in the short-term rental space, when I bought my first company, I was able to increase the value of that business by 30% just by adding 30% of top line revenue for the business through pricing optimization.
Okay.
They were already doing pricing optimization, but we came in and we adhere to our own principles of like what we believe is the best way to do it based on lead times and different things. And this is getting a little more technical into the Airbnb world, but revenue management is one of the best ways um to optimize your portfolio. So revenue management, what does that really mean? I want to know, what ranking are you on the Airbnb algorithm? What's your lead time for your market? And then create a pricing strategy around that. So what is booking? Okay, so I'm just gonna go a little more technical. What
Yeah,
is
yeah,
booking?
please.
What is ranking? How do we know ranking on Airbnb algorithm? If you're not page number one, you're gonna get booked more. It's just facts. So how do I get to page one? Well, you got to analyze where you're at and what page. Okay, great. What are the factors that are going to get me to page one? One is going to be, you're going to get better conversions, right? You're going to have a better first photo. You're going to have better conversions. And so your listing matters a lot. So how do we make the listing so great where the first 5, 10, 15 photos make me want to stay? And so like, I want to invoke that emotion out of people. And so I build the listings and the photos and get the best photography, get the best sunsets, the best angles, everything, the best amenities pictured into the first 5, 10, 15. See this mistake all the time. People throw a bet in the first photo. I'm like, dude, you already lost, depending on where it's at. Um,
Yeah.
if it's a, I mean, I'm making fun of that, but if the like my area is all about amenities, so we're gonna focus on amenities. And if your area is more about, getting like let's say it's for business travelers. What do business travelers care about? They care about their fucking coffee, their freaking their
Workstation.
yeah, or
Yeah.
maybe a bar cart or something like that. Like picture those things in the first five. Like the Wi-Fi speed, right? How fast the Wi-Fi is. That's the stuff that I want to know in the first five photos versus, whatever. So you got to make sure build your listing around your guest avatar. So build that. Second, pricing. All right. If your book, you're gonna have to understand your booking lead time. So in every market for every specific property type, there's a certain booking lead time, how far out people are booking your property to figure out if they want to stay there or not. So in my market, it's around for one bedroom, two bedrooms, probably gonna be around 14 days. It's very last minute. People are looking to book this last minute because they, it's not a big property. They're not looking to get a bunch of people together to stay there. It's you and a significant other. So it's going to be a lot closer to that time. So what does 2 week booking lead time mean? That means if I'm booking today, it's for a property that's 2 weeks out. So they start 2 weeks out. So that's a 2 week lead time. So on average, majority of them are 2 weeks. So I want to start dropping the rate at 2 weeks so that I can get the most people into that. Like if they're not booking ahead of time, then a majority of them are going to be in the middle, right? So you want to start lowering that rate from that point on forward. That's why it's important. And I also want to be raising my rates depending on how further out they book, and or I want to play a game where I'm not raising too much and I'm getting those longer term bookings because those happen every so often. Whatever the strategy. But you got that. So pricing is really important. So once you learn pricing and once you learn listing optimization, listings, whatever, then you can start thinking about, that's how you start making more money with the listing. And so now you don't all of a sudden you don't have to really, cutting expenses and cutting costs are really important, but you start thinking about making more money. That's, you know, if I'm saving 50 cents here and there on coffee, it's not going to make me rich and wealthy. What's going to make me
Hmm.
wealthy is how to make as much money as possible. And so the same goes in any business. Any business. You're charging somebody $1,000 for per month to do or $500 per month to do Facebook ads. Charge them 2,000. It's
Yeah.
simple. Now you just that's 4 clients. That's how fast like, but you have to be able to pitch the value at that rate, right? It's like show where the value will come in. Maybe in the beginning get a proof of concept, but the biggest thing that people do when they buy any sort of business, because this is them buying acquisitions, they say 90% of millionaires are made in real estate, then 100% of billionaires are made in private equity, buying businesses, buying assets, buying big things like that. Anyways, and one of those businesses you can buy, any business, let's say software. A lot of times they'll buy software companies and realize, well, crap, these people, if we build like the pricing tool to be like this, and then psychologically we can make 20% more, which, if you're buying a $10 million business, 20% more is, that's oh my God, math.
12
Uh,
million?
12 million, yeah. Or is it?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, 20% of 10
Of
million would be
of 10
two.
million. So it's
Yeah.
whatever, 2 million. 2 million. So
Yeah.
you'd get 12 million. So you just went from 10 million to 12 million. That's $2 million that you're leaving on the table. I mean, things like that, right? And then now you're thinking about how do I improve churn rates, whatever. So in your business, you have to think about at a more micro scale. It's like, how do I get more cash for my work? Would you rather have one client paying you, you know, 10 grand a month, or would you rather have 10 or 100 clients paying you, is that mathing, $100 a month? I mean, yes, there's people can make arguments on both things, but I rather have a high quality client that, is paying the premium and it's worth it. Now, granted, in the beginning, yeah, you have to have proof of concept, you have to do all this kind of stuff. You can't just like start charging that. But at the same time, understand that if you can pitch value correctly, you should be able to charge what you need to charge to allow that to happen. So that's the way I like to do it. Um, and that goes with any business. Hopefully I'm covering most businesses, even like flipping houses and whatever. There's always a item of, great, yeah, we can do this, but can we make this, you know, a specific kind of property that will sell for more money, or people are going to want it
Mm,
more? Or can I create amenities or different things for this market that allow it to be sold at a higher than whatever
yeah.
people, because you just have so much conviction that obviously you want to have comps to some degree with flipping or with anything. But, with flipping houses, like for example, in LA, cutting costs, like sometimes that kind of screws you in a luxury market like that when you're
Oh
selling a
yeah.
luxury home. So
Mhm.
like, it depends on your own, but like if you're in a lower income area, then maybe it does make more sense to not do that, but maybe add something else that people don't do. Maybe they do cheap plastic countertops. You could do like quartz counters. And
Yeah.
it's like maybe that's not what is the standard there, but like maybe you can squeeze X amount of dollars more. Um, yeah, just things like that. So anyways, hopefully that's like helpful from that perspective. Um, yeah. Anything else you guys want to know about this? I'm happy to kind of dive in one direction or another, but yeah.
I appreciate it, dude. The price optimization and just like looking at it at that perspective makes so much sense. And I think really getting down your KPIs of like, okay, like where is everything at? And at that point, kind of like reverse engineering, okay, this is how we start cutting costs, or like here's where I could add more value to it. And I think another thing, just based off of what you said, of like whether it's fix and flips or Airbnb, it's just like really understanding the avatar, right? Like
Yeah.
what who's gonna buy this, you know?
Yeah.
I really liked your example of just like is it travel workers? Okay, make it more like travel worker friendly, like, and also don't be posting your first picture of a bed or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's look at that. I mean, I'm down to just like go down that rabbit hole. I'm totally cool. Let's look at this, right? This is the Boulder House. What is the purpose of the first photo? The purpose of the first photo is to get you to want to click. So
Yeah.
this house, especially, where does your eyes go in this house right now?
Fireplace, pool, and mountains.
Right? Because it's illuminated. You want to know
Yeah.
something crazy? You know that there's a house right there?
Oh yeah.
You're not gonna see it. Why? Because we matted down the colors and everything. So you're feeling like, wow, remote and amazing, awesome experience. White on black, it just pops. And it's like, boom. It's like, okay, I want to see more.
Damn, that's
Whoa.
beautiful.
Amenities, boulder or pool, boulders. I'm looking right here and I'm looking right here. And the model is just accessory. It's just an
Yeah.
accessory, but it also kind of envisions what it would be like for you to be there. And so this is like a picture's 1,000 words. Next part. Wow. Playing a
Yeah.
guitar in
That,
a
yeah, that
fire
tells
pit.
me I'm like, dude, just have all my friends around, like
Yep.
chop some shit, have some drinks, listen to some
Yep.
music. That's like
Exactly.
that.
Like,
That's like the
ooh.
emotion I'm getting from it.
Exactly. Like you're like, oh my God, like imagine like a campfire, like everyone's singing. Like, dude, that's kind of like the vibe. You're like, oh, so you see now you're pitching emotion, like, I don't care what this costs. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Next part is like it's just a very nice bathroom. Like you could take baths here and you can just kind of enjoy the space. Another part where, obviously nighttime with views. They got beautiful views that go down. Just wow, landscape. Illuminated at night views again. Beautiful windows. You can sit here and read a book. You can do, your eye kind of goes here. You're like, wow, like, you know, it's just invoking emotion, like, outdoor shower. You know, just it's just telling a story. That's what it is. This whole thing is just telling a story of like I'm kind of like, okay, I can go to the bathroom, I can relax here, I can be with my friends here, I can, use the pool. Like it's just telling the story that gets people to think, what am I what is the experience going to be like when I click pay? And that's you got to invoke that emotion because look, when people are scrolling on Airbnb, they're before they even click into your listing, they're going to be scrolling. They can scroll up to 30. So up to 30 you can scroll without um with capping out at 30. So if you put all the best photos in the front, you can actually optimize this in a way where um like you focus on building that emotion first so that when they click
Mhm.
into it, they're already sold on the
Yeah.
idea. And
And
so
then
now,
the other 120 or whatever could just be like, okay, here's logistics. Like we got this other shit, you know?
yeah, yeah. Well, usually what happens is they'll have a few of them, so they'll have like a few of them that they wanna roll with. And at this point, they have this one opened up. The moment they open it up, like I have them hooked. At least I have them hooked from the perspective of they're interested enough to potentially consider an option.
Mhm.
Now, there's probably going to be multiple tabs open. If anybody has gone on Airbnb, you usually have multiple homes you want to kind of look at, and then you kind of like and then you kind of show it to your friends, and then kind of like then we have to sell to the friends and all that. But like, what is going to sell now is going to be the reviews. It's going to be like what kind of stuff to do, how far it is from everything logistically, does it work out? Just looking at the configurations of the bedrooms and like all the logistical stuff. Um, and then from there, and all these metrics are tracked. So the first metric is impressions. How many times you show up? If you're not even showing up to begin with, there's a whole nother metric. There's a whole nother thing you can do with that. It's usually like you don't have a specific amenity check that people care about, or your location is kind of bad, or whatever the case. There's always ways to remedy that. So if your impressions are low, if your impressions are high, and your conversions are low, that means your first 5 photos or so are not entertaining enough. They probably stop scrolling after 2 or 3, and then they move down to the next one, 2 or 3,
Mm.
and to the next one. And then once they click into it, then it's like, okay, you got them. And so when they click through, that's a click through rate. So you click the rate and then you have your page view. So this is your page view. So then from there is the booking conversion. How often they book. Usually when they're not booking conversion, it's usually something logistically, it's something maybe you have a really bad photo that's kind of deterring them away, or whatever the case may be, that you can optimize to make this a lot better. Does that make sense?
Totally, dude.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. Dang it. Thanks for
Yeah.
dude, thanks for all the knowledge, dude. Thanks for all the
Of
passion
course.
and everything. I know earlier you mentioned so you do Airbnb just to kind of like sign this off, like tell everybody here whoever's going to watch it later just, where they could find you. And I know you mentioned you're educating people on Airbnb as well, so where they could find
Yeah.
it, potential things if they want to like hit you up on.
Yeah, yeah. If anybody wants to hit me up, just look at my name. By the way, my name is in the bottom corner here. It's Patryk Swietek, but you spell it Patryk. If you put that into Instagram, Patryk underscore Swietek. That's my Instagram handle. You can find me on there. Feel free to message me. If you're interested in Airbnbs in general, go on Facebook, STR Nation is the thing. And then if you're truly interested in getting into Airbnbs and getting to the next level, I have a book that's only 99 cents on Kindle. It's called The Wealthy Airbnb Superhost. It's 99 cents. You can't lose. Teresa, I think it would probably benefit you a lot. So definitely like feel free to download it. It has all of my knowledge in all those chapters and how I scaled and how I grew my whole portfolio and how you can do the same thing. So
Hell
yeah.
yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Real quick, I remember like your book too, like was on like top 10 on like Amazon for Airbnb. So congrats to you, dude. Like
Yeah.
you've definitely got the proof of concept and now you're able to coach other people on it. So just wanted to give you a pat on the back, high five for that, dude. Good
Appreciate it,
stuff.
man.
Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. Appreciate everybody on here and anybody else who's watching. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to hit Patrick up for any questions and on Airbnb or anything. And peace out. Much love. Stay beautiful. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Stay
Peace.
beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Late. Bye.